everybody, welcome to another Sunday with some art. My name is Yenny and I'm one of the instructors for Art for Fun. We will begin as soon as I see some of you guys in the chat. Right now is just the time to just kind of introduce myself, give you the rundown of the materials and the paints that we're going to use, and just say hello. So if you're out there, stop and say hi. I do this every month. It's for free. You could purchase the painting kits through us or get your own materials at Michael's, Hobby Lobby, Joann's, Amazon. There's a lot of stores that can carry art materials. I like to get my own from Michael's. I prefer their quality. It has worked for me for so many years, so I stick to their brands. Again, my name is Yenny, and I do have a YouTube channel, so please just subscribe at Art for Fun Music. Painting, Art for Fun Painting, sorry. And I do have an Art for Fun Instagram. Please follow us along. We do have it on our Facebook page, Art for Fun 80_ underneath in between each word. Follow us. We do this for fun, for free, just to share some of my knowledge to all of you guys. So I hope you enjoy today's painting, Valentine's flowers. So again, we'll just slowly begin. I hope we all sketched our canvas already with our base, our flowers. Let's see who's online. Here we go. Hey Karen, how are you? Are you ready for today's painting? I hope you're excited. Karen, how are you? Are you ready for today's painting? Is the music too loud? I don't know if you could hear it. Let me know on the comments. I am definitely excited for today. It's not raining, but feels pretty good out there. I wish I could record from outside. I'm thinking of doing that in the summer. Let's see how that plays out. I think it'll be fun to enjoy the outdoors. To get your drink. My choice is coffee. I'm a coffee fanatic. A little bit about myself. I am an acrylic artist. That was the medium that I chose back in college. I started college a little late. I was 23, and we had to choose a kind of like an elective, I guess, and I didn't know what to pick, so I picked photography and art, acrylic. I fell in love with it. I did my first painting. I had a copy of replica. I chose Starry Night of Van Gogh, and I did pretty well. For somebody who has never worked with acrylics and a brush, my professor was pretty impressed. And from that point on, I painted just to exhibit. And 7 years ago, I was asked to instruct at a community center in San Bernardino, and I did it a few times and I loved it. So from that point on, this turned to a business, a hobby, and I just love art. I love to share what I learned. Most of my knowledge has been, of course, through school, where you learn the basic. I had to learn how to mix colors, how to balance my lights and my darks, my shadows. There's always light coming from somewhere. There's shadows through the whole day, except for the night, of course. So you learn all those elements in school, and along the way, with experience and just practicing, you just get better. I think we're all artists. I don't think that there's no artists. I don't think that when I hear people, I don't know how to paint or I don't know how to draw, I'm not an artist, I think it's kind of silly, because I think we all are artists. We all have a different, I always say, what we hear, what we see, and what we transfer through our hands onto the brush is a totally different experience, and we're all different. And I think that's pretty cool, how we're all unique. We could all be painting the same painting, and at the end of that process, it'll look totally different from each other. And I think that's pretty cool. Art, we cannot grade art. I don't know how teachers do it in school, because I would have a hard time like giving somebody a grade. I had my fair experiences with that when I was going through university, through professors, and when I would get a B+, I would get pretty upset, because how can you judge art that way? But here I am, instructing you guys through Facebook Live, which is a new experience for me, and I'm enjoying it so far. So I hope you are too. So again, don't forget to follow my YouTube channel, Art for Fun Painting. Again, the link is in the Art for Fun Yenny Tarin Facebook page. We have all the websites, our Instagram, and the YouTube links. So please follow us on all our social media, and just take advantage of the free content that we offer you. Let's see. So, like I was telling you, for every virtual, you want to use the same brushes. This is what the 1 inch looks like, and it comes in different forms. This is like a 1/2 inch. It's also doable if you can get one of these ones, a larger one. We do have a smaller one, and they have in different shapes. Don't get discouraged. Like if all you find is a brown one, that will do for the background. We always need a large brush to fill out our large areas in our background. And of course, you need your smaller square and a point brush, right? So you always want to have a pencil and a Sharpie just to help us sketch. And the Sharpie, I love to use it because even though I put paint over my lines, I can still see them. And so when I go in with paint, it looks more as a brush stroke other than a Sharpie line. I don't know if that makes sense, but you'll see it today. Always have some water, napkins, and of course our palette for today. We are using 6 colors. I hope you could get a separate plate, because we are gonna mix. We do need like a darker red and a lighter red for our roses. So go ahead and work on that at the moment. Get your plate situated. We do need the 5 colors. 6 colors, I'm sorry, 6 colors. We need our basics: white, black, green, red, and yellow, and brown. Again, if you don't know how to make brown, you mix red and green, mix them together, and you add a little bit of yellow to make it a little dirty. And if you want it darker, you just add a small increments of black. I'm gonna arrange my stuff on the side, my brushes. Right, make sure you grab your choice of drink. We are gonna get started. I see some of us. Karen just said hello, and I'm just waiting. Karen, did you have it all ready and sketched, ready to go? And whoever's out there as well. So take this time to sketch out the canvas. You do wanna, I wanna say like 5 fingers from the bottom up, make a line behind your base. And that's gonna, that's for our table, where our base is sitting on, right? And then again, from that line up, that's gonna be our background. The picture on the one that I shared on Facebook does have like a wood on the back. In my preference, is too dark, so we are going to do a we're gonna do a very light yellow with white, just kind of blotch it all over the back, and I think that would give it a nice pop of color for our flowers. We have a visitor. Wanna say hi, Eve? He's a little camera shy. Hi. Oh man, yeah, he gave me a wet one. Hi. He is the Art for Fun main instructor. He probably will start doing his little paint with Eve soon. I'm trying to get to see if he could do some art. Smile. All right, Baba. All right, guys, so it's about, we'll start at 150. I'm just trying to give you guys a little time to get your canvas all sketched out. Let me get my glasses. Don't be shy. Say hello in the chat room. We do answer it through the recording and through the live feed. Karen, how long have you been painting? I know you've been doing our virtual parties for a while already and in person. So far, how's your experience with Art for Fun? All right, so we're gonna start mixing. All right, so remember we need a separate plate, and that's gonna be for our mixing. All right, so we are gonna use our little square brush to do our mixing. So you need, we're gonna do 3 different shades of the pink. Red and white will give us a lighter pink, kind of like a fuchsia. We need a fuchsia pink. There's our fuchsia. And I'm not gonna clean my brush because I need a lighter version. That's gonna give us for the details. Again, I'm just gonna add some white onto my brush, and we'll go with whatever the brush has of pink to make the lighter version. Try to leave some white because we are gonna use the white. I think one of our flowers I want it to be like a cream color. So there's my lighter pink. Remember, this is your painting. I always encourage for you to blend the colors to your choice. I'm going with that color scheme right there. Remember, wash your brush. Remember, we need a dark one. So for the dark one, I'm gonna do red and brown. If you don't have brown, you can use black. Just do a little bit of black. You don't want to overpower it because black is so intense. So there's my dark red. It's gonna look like a dark fuchsia per se. Maybe add some more red to it. There you go. And The last color we're gonna blend is gonna be a dark green. Again, we can use our black, and I'll use my black this time so you can see. You don't need a lot. Save some of the normal green. And I'm just gonna see how a little bit of black I'm adding to it. This is gonna give us a nice dark green. There you go. I don't like to blend all my colors. I like to leave them with like little swirls in them. I like how it looks when we paint. It gives it a dimension effect. So I love that. I don't like to blend my colors all the way. There you go. So we have our palette. We have our normal palette. All right, guys. We are going to do one more blend, and that's going to be on your first plate. We are going to mix, remember the yellow? So the first brush we're going to use, just use whatever brush you have, the 1 inch or the 1/2 inch. Remember, we wet our brush always. We kind of clean it off a bit on a napkin. And I'm going to grab a little bit of yellow, like so. So for this technique, I like to, it's kind of like a distress technique. So I like to rub my paint onto the canvas. You could go ahead and touch you could go over that line a little. This is gonna be a darker brown. So there you go. See how I'm not completely covering my background? And this is because I'm gonna go a little bit around my flowers. You could go over your leaves, that's okay. Because I'm gonna add white in those areas. So leave some of those areas unpainted. It doesn't have to be perfect. Remember, the background is just a background. It's a filler. Our important element in this painting is our beautiful flowers, our vase, and our leaves. So start with small amounts. It's always easier to start with small amounts of paint rather than too thick, because we could always move the paint around with less paint. See how I'm kind of keeping it pretty light. I don't know if you could see. I went over my leaves. You could see that. The reason why I left those 3 flowers with pencil, because these are gonna be my 2 darks, and those are gonna be my light pink and my whites. I don't know if that makes sense. This way I could see the lines. So even if you have pencil, you can still see with the yellow, you could see the pencil lines. I don't know if you saw it right here. I went a little bit over. And you're fine. All right, so I'm going up here. All right. So with the white, you don't clean your brush. Just do it with the dirty brush. And now I'm gonna come in and add some white. To kind of, so if you're starting to see, if you're getting too thick, you'll cover up those leaves. So you want to do less. So I'm going with white. I'm coming over on this side. I'm cleaning my brush. That yellow should be pretty light by the time we're done blending. I love how I get to do these videos because, you know, when I do a lot of private events, I don't get to paint a lot on wet. You know, for private events, I have to let things dry and kind of follow after. But when we do these live videos, it's awesome because I can show you guys that you don't have to be intimidating. Painting on wet shouldn't be intimidating. It works in our favor because it blends easier. I love painting on wet. So if you can see the difference already on this side where I already blended with white, and then on this side where it's not blended yet. I like how that looks, so I'm gonna leave that alone. And don't worry so much about these, we'll do it once we're done with this. All right, so we're gonna continue blending. So let's add some white on this side and let's blend. Well, you get the idea what we're doing, so I'm gonna put it back on the easel. I'm gonna show you from here. See how I'm rubbing? I'm doing this. I'm not doing, you could do this too, but it's always easier to just kind of rub the paint on. And I am not wetting my brush, so please try not to wet it. We only wet it once, because when we over wet our brushes, paint can run on our canvas, and sometimes it's too difficult to fix. All right, so I'm almost done. Remember, don't get too critical with your background. It's just a background. We want to spend most of our time in the base and the flowers. All right. And you know what? If you get some brush little bristles on the canvas, just brush them off. And if you can, just leave it alone. It creates texture. I learned that in school. I would always get so anal about the little bristles stuck in my canvas, and my professor would always say, just leave it alone. It's part of the painting. It's part of the texture. So don't be so hard on yourself. So I'm ready to do the side. So I am gonna wet my brush a little bit because it got a little dry. But again, I'm gonna pat it on my napkin. And I'm gonna go and to do my sides and the top, see how on my brush I have a marble effect of yellow and white, and that should give me that nice blend when I paint my sides. And it's optional. You don't have to paint your sides. I like to, because I don't know if you can see on my background, I hang all my art pieces that we create. And so I like to just have them hang on the wall. So I like to wrap them sides, top and sides. All right, guys, so we should be finishing up the background. Remember, let's not spend so much time on this. This is not the important part of this painting. Let me add a little bit of white up here, a little too yellow. All right. We are using the same brush that you use for the background. We are going to use it for the bottom part of the painting, so let's wash it off. Okay, let's do nice and use my napkins. Always make sure to grab a lot of napkins. We use them a lot. All right, I'm going to give you a few minutes to kind of finish up your background. Let's check real quick who is here. Right. Okay, so for the bottom, we are going to mix brown and white. So let's create like a cream color. I think I'm okay with that one. Doesn't have to be perfect. So make sure it's a little lighter, not too dark, because our base is going to be dark. So we want our bottom to be lighter than our base. And again, remember that line that you did? We're gonna go along that line. You could go inside the base a little because it is gonna be a dark color. I'm gonna mark my lines first. Remember, wrap it along if you're wrapping it. And I'm gonna paint in this direction, from the base out. Because remember, this is a table. So we're just gonna simulate wood grains, so we're painting. And I'm going to dip my brush a little bit in water, just a tip, to kind of see, oh, see, I got some running paint. So remember to always wipe your brush prior to painting it, putting the brush in canvas. So I'm just brushing side to side. Remember, it doesn't have to be dark. We're sticking to a light version of that brown down here. And I do go over my elements a little, and it's okay. See how I'm brushing from the base out? It helps keep the consistency of those stripes to give it a nice wood effect. Right, brush side to side will give you a nice blend. Don't worry so much about the bottom. We'll take care of it towards the end. Right, so I think I like that combination. And I'm going to go ahead and wrap it just on the sides. On this side. If you're using an easel, easels have this little edge on it, and the canvases have this wood. You could hang it there, and it gives you it helps you so you can have a better range to the bottom of your canvas. So you could use it like that way as well. Just don't be so hard when you're painting, because your canvas could fall. So there you go. Again, I like to paint on wet. So remember, we're painting on wet. All these online tutorials are to give you that experience and to learn how to paint on wet. And so I can show you how it's not that complicated and hard. We just need to use technique and less paint. So again, I am going to wipe that brush off. You don't have to clean it with water, just wipe it off. We're gonna grab a little of that brown. And you know what? If you decided to do the bottom a whole different color, just add a darker shade of that to create we're gonna start from the base out. So there's one line, one on this side. Maybe skip a little into the rose. Get a little more. And there you go. There's our wood table. Wrap it a little if you came to the edge. And leave it alone. You don't have to keep on blending back and forth, because the more you see how I'm doing this, as the more you brush, the more you're gonna blend the colors together. And for this effect, we don't want that. We just want to keep those nice marked lines to represent wood. So I did something there, so I'm just gonna keep on brushing a more medium shades to kind of balance it out. Brush it off a little. All right. So there you go. There's our wood. So far we have our background, we have our wood. We are gonna use that medium brush again. So kind of clean it up to do our base. Again, I'm using my napkins. All right, clean brush. Make sure your smaller brush is clean as well, because that's what you're going to use for the details. There you go. These are the two brushes we're going to use for the base. Once we're done with our base, then we're going to move on to our flowers. See how we done our bottom, we done our table, we done our background, and we have not had the need to stop and let things dry. And so far, it's coming out pretty great. I noticed something here. I'm just gonna realign that. It went too high. There you go. All right. So for the base, it is going to be a darker color. Remember we mentioned it. So if you're doing it gray or doing it black, let's do a black. Let's do a black base. I think that would be pretty interesting to bring out the grays and the blacks. I want to do that. Let's do black. So we're going to start with black. So for this, let's use the medium, the little small brush, and this is going to help us go along our flower. Remember our flower here? Go around it. Because it's going to be hard to see it with all this black paint. Go around your leaf. If you did a leaf down there. If you can see, I'm going to show you closer. I'm painting around the flower. This is okay. I'm going to come up here, mark my base, paint around that flower. and brush down. I'm gonna go around my leaf here and brush down, brush down. That's safe. I'm gonna go over here around this flower. Brush down. We want to brush down because our base is going in up and down direction. This one. And then right here, I'm gonna down. There's my leaf. Brush up. Just go ahead and use this brush to outline your base. Oh, I love how that's coming out. Let's just outline our base along our Sharpie line. So when I outline, I don't use my brush this way. I use it the long way. This way allows you a better control of the brush, and you can do straighter lines. Let's brush up. All right. So let's outline our base. Let's mark it really good. Remember, we're brushing up and down. All right, so I marked my area. I'm gonna put that brush in water, and I'm gonna use my big brush now. It gives me a better coverage. And look, I'm brushing down or up. Try to stay in that direction, side to side, or just give you a different grain of the base. This is a tall base, so it's gonna go up and down. And I don't know if you could see that I'm not doing a completely solid and black, and this is because we're gonna make some gray in a second, and we're gonna add some gray in there. So that's as much as I'm doing. There is 2 leaves there. I don't know if you can see one leaf and one in the back, one in the front, and then my base rounds up at the bottom. And you could have done a square base, and it's totally fine. So that's as much coverage I'm doing. So remember, we're painting on wet, so dirty brush, get some white, start mixing your gray somewhere on your plate. We want a medium gray. Make sure for this you do blend it pretty well. We want a nice gray. All right, so there's my gray that I'm using. So for this part, remember we previously had a few lines. We had a line here. Remember, to paint like this, it's gonna be a wider line. You wanna go the long way. And then we flip. Then we get some more paint. Put on the next. Do a straight line, straight, and a straight line. See how my grays, you can't really see them? So I'm gonna make a lighter shade. They're getting lost there with the black. So again, I'm gonna when I wet my brush, I literally just dip the tip of it to get my paint wet and more liquid. Let's do it again. I think this shade is lighter. Let's see. Oh yeah. All right, there you go. Again, let's curve it right there. Just make this line longer. This line longer. Then, I don't know if you notice that I'm not touching the edge. I'm leaving the edge black. Okay. Let's use our smaller brush now, and this is to finish up the detail. Again, we're gonna go in between now. So I'm brushing the width. See how my brush is, this is the width and this is the long. So we're going width, and I'm brushing from the flower down. There you go. Remember, try not to blend. I go down here and brush in that direction. You know, mimicking this part, like a round effect. I'm gonna come to the edge of the base. Again, I'm painting with the wide part of the brush down, always down. At the top of the vase, always down. And try to leave some of the black exposed. Now we're coming on this side, from the flowers down. All right. So work on that shade, that shading of the base for a minute. I'm gonna wash my, I like how it's coming out. I'm gonna wash my brush and I'm going to, because I wanna add some black detail over those gray lines. So remember, our base, the light is hitting in front of it. That's how we're using this picture. The light is in front. So everything in front is gonna be vibrant and illuminated. So for that, we need some white lines. So let's do our blacks first. Again, try to stick on the outer for the black. I'm just going in and retouching some of these lines, make them more black. On the outer, remember, stay on the outside, stay black. I'm just going back and retouching the outer part of that base so it can be very dark. See a little bristle. Okay, all the way down. It's kind of, mine is round, so I'm gonna round it up at the bottom a little. I'm gonna add a little bit of black over here. Here. This and right here. All right. I like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and add the illumination of the light. So remember, just grab. It's gonna maybe be a silver color. So now it's gonna be here. So now we're just recreating those lines that I drew for the sample. Another one maybe here. So make sure it's like you're grabbing pure white to do this. Maybe, and stay away from your pinks. I literally just touched the pink myself. And then I'm gonna just do maybe another one here straight. Higher one. Let's see if we can get rid of that pink here. And maybe one here, just this corner. Done, and then down here. All right, guys. So there's the base. All right, so we're gonna let that black set for a bit. We are using that square, little square. We're not using the larger brush anymore for now. Let's use our square brush. While that's drying, let's work on our leaves, okay? Remember, we are learning to paint on wet, so we don't have to let this dry. So remember the dark green I asked you guys to mix? This is gonna be the base for our leaves. And this is to, again, everything needs a base color and it's always gonna be darker. And then we're gonna come back with the lighter green with a little bit of yellow to just give it a few highlights. So I would stay away from this part because it's still wet, so I would do this part. So I'm gonna start from the top. Remember, I already outlined my leaves to the thickness I wanted my stems. So go ahead and fill in all those leaves and stems with the dark green. And that's what we're gonna do around your, wherever you added those vines with leaves, go ahead and fill them in with the dark green. So that's what I'm gonna do at the moment. remember, you don't have to perfectly blend or color in those leaves or those vines. We just need the base color to be there. We are going to add more detail when we add our lighter green. If you were like me, sometimes I add less leaves so I can have less to color in. Today I added a lot, so it's just at the moment we're all should be working in our leaves. Guys, and this video will be available on YouTube. If you were not able to follow us on our live video, check out our YouTube page and we will have this video up and you could follow along and pause it as you paint. And I always encourage chunky paint, so let's do that towards the end though. Right now, let's keep it kind of flat for the first layer. And this is just for our base, so base color. We'll do the chunky effect when we do the detail. You know, when we're painting our leaves or our vines, this is the opportunity for you to either make them like more wider, more longer. You could play with what you drew and change it up a bit when we put color. Remember, try to stay away from the one on the bottom. It is still a little wet. So let's just focus on the top part of the leaves. There are a few here. Bleeding out to the edge of that. So I am going to draw those up here, color that in. And I have a few on the back, so put some color there. Yeah, don't be afraid to add leaves behind flowers, you know, or even in front of the flowers. I don't know if you ever pay attention to flower arrangements. Leaves are intervened within the flowers. You know, sometimes they're in front and the back and between. So don't be afraid to play with that as well when we paint. So I'm wrapping mine around, because I like to wrap things up. Leaves. I don't know if you could see how I'm not blending my paint to a solid consistency. I'm literally just filling in the space however my my brush leaves those strokes. So try to work from the top down. This way things start drying. By the time we're done, we can move on to the next step. When we hop around our canvas, we can continue. It's always better to start from one part and then just follow through the entire canvas instead of hopping around. one's dry already. Perfect. Add another one here. So I want to go over the table. See, like I'm just literally adding elements. So let's do that. It'll be fun. One there. We did all the higher leaves. So I'm pretty sure we're pretty good now to do this part. So go ahead and start doing your leaves. I'll show you. There's one. Remember, there's another one back here. So just color that in. And when we have a leaf in the back, you always want to come back and reshape the one in front to kind of guide us that that's the front leaf. So we have to add details to this one, but not the back one. Here's my stem. And I'm gonna have to make that flower a little larger because my stem got a little wider. Let me hang it a little so you can see. Remember, we just need one coat of this color. I think I did all my leaves. So look around your canvas. Gotta make sure you cover all your leaves. So again, remember we're working in steps. Our base should be drying up by now. It should be dry. Clean your square brush very well. We're gonna let those leaves dry for a few minutes. I never take breaks, but for this we will. We'll take a few minutes just to kind of let those leaves dry. And we could go in with our green and yellow. Remember, we are not going to touch our flowers yet until the end. That's gonna be the final step. So look around your base, and in my base, I do see an area where there's white. I can see the canvas through. So you wanna make sure you go back and retouch those areas. I'm gonna retouch it with black, because I'm a little anal about detail, and I could see that. So I'm just gonna come back and just do my little black. And maybe on your side, you also have little areas that now that it's dry, you could see where you have to retouch with black. So go ahead and do that at the moment while our green is drying. I could see in some areas my gray kind of disappear a little. And then this is the time if your white is not as white for these lines, like my center line is not too white, so I'm gonna come back and reshape it. So remember, we don't like to waste time. So while our base is sitting at the table. So remember, the light is hitting it. So there is a shadow down there. So you're gonna grab a little bit of the dark brown and you're just gonna rub just underneath your base. Pull it off to the side. Come on this side. Remember to pull it off, because the light is in front, so the shadow stays underneath it. There you go. All right, let's get some. All right, so let's blend green and yellow to give us some more neon green. Remember, you're in control of this, so make it as neon as you want or less neon. I like this shade, so we're gonna go with that. So for this part, keep the vine as solid as you can with the dark green. We're just gonna remember that line? Let's use, let's use our thin brush. It's gonna help us create better lines than this one. So if you wet this brush and you roll it on your hand or the napkin, it gets pointy. It's gonna help us control better. So let's make a, use this green on the center of the vine. So just try to keep it in the center. See, like I'm not even mixing or blending. I'm just making just one long stroke right in the center of that. You're gonna do that to all your vines. I'm gonna work on this vine first and then I move on to the others. Your leaves, you wanna brush down, and then you go on the outer, and then you do 3 lines in the center. I don't know if you could see, we still see the outer dark, and then we see the light middle, center. So you want to keep it in that consistency. Do that to all your leaves. Maybe a little closer. Can you see the light green on top of the dark green? If you can't see it as much, maybe add some yellow. Let me add some yellow. I like that yellow. All right. So see, now it took 3 layers. It took that medium green, and then I did some yellow over it, and that's what we get. I like that. So I'm going to keep that consistency throughout all my leaves. Remember that you don't have to overblend your leaves. It's nice to leave chunky paint. It's almost done with this. I'm not doing on this one as much because it's in the back. So I'm gonna add my yellow now to wet paint. Try to exaggerate the yellow in the front part of your leaves, because remember that's what the light is hitting. So anything in the front, you want to exaggerate that brightness. And then after you're done with your leaves, just go over that vine again, like so. So we're gonna create this effect to all your vines and leaves. Don't forget to add any questions in the comments. How everybody's doing so far? Well, we are about, I think, 65% in with our painting. Once we're done with the leaves, the flowers should be pretty fast. It is going to be also on wet. Just remember the glare. I'm gonna have like glowing eyes. Okay, guys. Remember, for your leaves, you can leave chunky paint. From this point on, it's gonna be okay to leave chunky paint. I don't know if you noticed, but along the way I have been increasing the size of my leaves because the brush sometimes does its own thing, so it's okay. Just go with it. So this is in the back, so I'm gonna make that one green, but I'm not gonna add the yellow to it. So anything you have in the back, like overlapping leaves, you leave the leaf in the back. I'm gonna come closer. You leave this leaf the way it is, and you just come in front and you just remark the top one, and you leave the bottom one alone. So now it stays on the back. I hope everybody's enjoying this painting so far. I'm loving it. This is the first time that I'm doing this painting with everybody, and I am liking the results so far. This is like my favorite thing to do, paint on wet. I would highly suggest or recommend to actually practice this on your own time. You know, play with different elements to water, mountainscapes, grass, flowers. It's a pretty neat technique to get good at, because you don't have to let your paints dry. Let's see. I'm gonna retouch some of these. So I'm done with my top part of my leaves. I am going to finish by now. Remember the bottom part, that should be dry for you to come in and do the same thing. Come in with your lighter green. Remember, focus on the center. At least some of the dark green there as well. Remember that leaf, it's in the back. So I'm gonna do the lighter green, but I am not going to add yellow to it. It's gonna stay green, like so. Then I'm gonna remark my one in the front. Bring the yellow in. And get some light in there. There you go. So there's my bottom leaf and stem. Here's my up, left, and right. So we have enough coverage, enough balance of leaves and greens. So let's leave that alone for a minute. I know sometimes it's hard to step away, but let's just leave it alone. If you have all those different shades, so we could go on with our flowers. We're coming to an end, guys. We're about 70% in. So let's let those leaves dry for a few minutes. Take a bathroom break or a drink. Go get your drink, and we'll continue in a few minutes. We are gonna need more white. So add some white to the second plate where all your pinks are in. Add some white and some brown. We are gonna need a little bit of brown or black, whatever color you're using. Again, like I mentioned before, you can find this brand at Michael's and Joann's, I believe, or online, also Amazon. Try to stick to level 1 acrylics, water-based. I don't use anything oil-based, even on my personal paintings. Oils take longer to dry, and I'm impatient. So I like water-based, and it's easier to take it off your clothes and your hands. Again, remember we do need white and brown in our second plate because we're no longer using the first plate. We're gonna stick to this plate now for the flowers. Yeah, take a minute to evaluate what you have done on your painting. Let's try to not retouch anything along this part where your flowers are, or this flower. But anything in the center of the base, I mean, if you want to wait until the end when we're done with our flowers, you could go ahead and add more details to the base if you want. I really love the way mine came out. I always wanted to do a black base, so I'm glad that I was able to do that with everybody. And kind of give you guys an example how you start with black and you could do different shades of gray and finish it up with white. White gives it the light effect of the light hitting the base from the front. If we would have done like the light hitting from the left or right, we would have focused more like on one side of the base and eliminate that part. So I hope everybody, I am touching along my leaves, and mine's are pretty dry. There's a few that are wet right here. But mine's are pretty dry. So the bottom rows, it's gonna be that fuchsia. So remember I asked you guys to mark your flowers. Whatever flowers are gonna be the dark, they're gonna be in black lines. So we're gonna start with those. These are the front flowers. We're gonna start with the one on the left or the right, whichever you marked it as your main flower, and this is our main flower at the bottom. We are going to use your point brush. Again, remember, we start with the darkest color, that's our fuchsia. Let's start with the bottom flower. So I don't know if you created that rose effect with the waves around it. So we're going to start in the swirl and follow the swirl around, and just at the moment just outline those wavy lines you created. Just outline them with thick paint. Don't be generous with your paint at this point. You're just adding a lot of thick paint. We're gonna go over the base. Remember I told you guys I'm gonna have to make this flower a little larger because of my stem. So I'm just gonna go one more round. There you go. Maybe right here. So right here, I'm gonna just create those loops. Leave some spaces because that's where we're gonna add our lighter color. You leave that alone for now. We're gonna move on to the top. Remember, swirl. You leave that swirl alone. You come out here and you start outlining those lines with a lot of paint. This is the easiest way to paint a rose in this abstract style. I really like working with this style because you really don't have to add too much to it to make it look like a rose. Maybe further on, I will have a few videos on how to create a real rose. But at the moment, we are going to, for a few more videos, we're gonna work just in simple shapes. And then I'll start working on rose flowers or seascape or mountainscapes with more detail. But for now, we're gonna stick with basics until we get a little more practice. So there's one more. So we have that one up there. And I need to mix some more. So remember, try to mix a lot. Remember, swirl. So you're basically following what you drew. Just outline all those outlines in the darker shade. And then it seems like I need to mix some more. Remember, you add a little brown or black to your red. Unless you're using red by itself, and that's totally okay as well. Don't forget to send me your final your results after this live is over. Send me pictures of what yours looks like. Right, so we're leaving that alone. So remember, we are going to not let them dry. So for this one, I'm going to use my medium pink. And we're going to add it first in those gaps. And that's kind of like an adapt effect. We start on the outer. We dab it along those waves that we created with the darker. And then we follow with the second dabs. So I don't know if you notice I'm working in like a swirl in circular. And I'm just gonna make it a little dabs in the center with pink and that fuchsia. So make sure you cover all those little gaps that you have. So there's one rose. So we're gonna do the same thing we did here, we're gonna do it to the other two. Remember, I always encourage chunky paints, so just add chunks of those different shades. And if you want to do 3 colors, you should play with the different variations of that pink if you want to. I'm sticking just with 2. Remember to follow that swirl effect. And then kind of chunk it up in the center. Set a bunch of show you the second rose. So see the difference with the second color and without the color. So see how we're building our rose. And always look at your painting. There's some spots and just that we miss, and go back and just fill them in with your darker shade. Alright, let's go on to the second one, third flower. So for this one, I'm gonna add more dark on the outer. So I'm gonna clean my brush a bit. Let me dab the center part. And one like the outer part should be really dark. And you let, so at the moment you're not gonna be able to add more dark because it's too wet. So let's leave those darker flowers alone and let's work on the lighter ones, and we can come back to them. Maybe I need to cut some. All right. So for our, these are gonna be white. We're gonna add brown to them first. Again, remember, you follow the same technique. Follow the swirl you already drew. Follow the lines. Let's mark these lines pretty well, the outer lines. And the ones above, over our base. Just gently go over the top flower. So it should look something like this. So we'll do the other one, which is going to be here. And then we're going to add our white to it. Remember, I'm wrapping lines. So let's, for the next step, let's use our square little brush. It'll give us a better cover. It'll give us, let us cover a lot of that flower with white. So remember, we're gonna do a chunky effect. So get a lot of white on your brush and start adding it, because it's gonna turn into like a cream. So our first layer is gonna look a little cream, and it's okay. Just start doing those little waves in there. Remember, in between. Don't cover all the brown because that's gonna help us follow the pattern of the flower. See how chunky I'm leaving my flower? So let's do that to both of the flowers. So see how I went really chunky with that white? That's what we're looking for. Remember to apply your paint, you know how we rub, just don't blend it, just dab it and leave it alone and then move along to the next space. Just gonna tap it along, attached to the other flowers. And then remember we're doing a little center part, a lot of little dabs to make it look dark. Use the center to this one. And we could always come back with the brown and realign some of those, make some lines in there. Maybe choose. See how this one looks more whiter than that one? We're gonna let that dry a little bit and then we're gonna come back with more white. All right, let's work on our light pink, which is our last flower. So for that one, we're gonna start with the dark pink. All right, let's start at the outer edges. So we can go over those leaves. There we go. Let's go over that leaf. Like that, and then just follow your pattern. That was a commercial. What do you think?
It's cool.
Alright guys, I hope that you have enjoyed this painting so far. That is the last flower. We're only gonna go back and again, like I mentioned, you could go back and retouch some of those darker reds to kind of illuminate the brightness of it around it. This is going to be in the front, so once we're done with this flower, we're going to go back to this flower because this needs to be in front of all of those flowers. So we are going to go over those colors to kind of make it a little larger like the one on the back. So remember, you kind of clean your brush and then you go to the lighter one. Maybe add a little bit of water to your mixes if they're dry a bit. I'm gonna add more white to make them more lighter. So the reason why we paint on wet is for the dark underneath color and the front lighter color mixed together, and we don't have to wait for them to dry. They mix a little better when they're dry, when they're wet. It gives it a nice effect. Let's add some darks in the center, dark chunks. Remember, just add a lot of chunky paint to that. Alright, so remember we were gonna go back to that flower back there because it's too brown on my end. So I'm just coming back, going over that pink a little, and then add a lot of dabs of white. I'm using my square brush. It gives you better control of the white and the dabs. I'm gonna go back to this one right here, and I'm gonna add some dabs of white there. Here, that's in front of that one. There you go.
Yeah.
I like that blend, and I like this blend. Okay guys, so let's finish it up here. Again, I'm gonna have to make some more red. No, I have enough. So at the end, we literally go over, over, over. Over that flower, over that flower, and then go over that like that. Don't be afraid if it mixes a little, it's okay. Maybe add some brown there to help you mix those colors. There you go. And then kind of, if you got light over here, just use it to your advantage, add some pink there. And then down here, I'm gonna add some pinks to the outer. So go ahead and wash your skinny brush very well. There's an area on my end, there's an area where this flower is connecting with the white. I'm gonna go ahead and just use the thinner brush to kind of go around and add more white on that area. All right, guys. So there is our Valentine flowers. There's our pinks, our whites. I'm very happy with the results. Please send me your final piece. And if you want to go back and retouch some of the stuff, at the moment, I like the way it looks, but I don't know if I'm going to retouch it some more. But that's it, guys. Thank you for joining me today and be part of this virtual painting party that we are having once a month. Our next one will be in March, and I'm pretty sure it's gonna be towards the end of the March. I will do a St. Patrick's theme just because of the month that it is. It's the theme. But for the summer, for the following painting parties, it would be more summer, more spring flowers, probably a lot of sunsets, beaches, and so on. Again, don't forget to visit our YouTube channel, subscribe and follow us along on our Instagram, and I'll be looking forward in painting with you guys on the next event, on the next painting party. Bye guys.